Dun 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 dun. Hello and welcome back to another episode of True Crime Metrix. We're having no intros tonight, folks. No slides. No checking out the attorney's Instagram. Nothing of that. 100% straight into the mix. The Matrix, the Metrix, whatever the name of the channel is. We've got Luis Rivera in the hot seat, on the witness stand in the 2019 murder trial. Dan Markel, Professor Markel, murder trial. Tonight, we are looking at Tara Kawass, continuing our commentary footage of Luis Rivera's testimonies throughout the ages, folks. 3 trials he's been in thus far. Key witness in all of them. And questioning Mr. Rivera today is Tara Kawass for the Katherine Magbanua. Doesn't that sound like a drug or something? Magbanua. Like you go up to the guy in the club, you say, any of those Magbanuas? You got any of those Magbanuas tonight, Chet? Anyway. Roll tape, please. Where's the button?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Rivera, now you had a job, a pretty good job at Coastal Masonry, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, he had a great job, folks. Not a dentist, not a professor, but a great job at Coastal Masonry. You know, I love it when I think it's in the next trial, in the 2022 Katherine Magbanua retrial, when Christopher DeCoste is questioning Mr. Rivera, and he says, "You know how to read. You know how to read. You had to take an exam for your masonry business." And Luis Rivera is beautiful again. He's just like, the exam is laying blocks. You gotta lay blocks. Yeah, but you know how to read those blocks, didn't you? The guy has an answer for everything. Is it because he's a good guy? No. Is it because he's educated? No. It's just he's given it up, man. He said, okay, those guys are going to give me the death penalty, so I could die by my code of silence to the Latin King Brotherhood, or I could just tell you everything I know, which he may or may have not done. There's little bits and pieces, aren't there? Missing chunks, strange contradictions in Luis Rivera's testimony, as truthful as he comes across. Some stuff just doesn't add up.
What is Coastal Masonry?
It's a block company.
And you do primarily construction work, correct?
15 years, yes, ma'am.
And that would be my next question. How long did you work at Coastal Masonry?
15 years straight.
And you were actually working at that job when you were arrested on the federal case in 2015, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And you even got Sigfredo Garcia a job at Coastal Masonry, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And this was the time frame, correct me if I'm wrong, is in between the 2 trips.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you had to fire him.
Yes, ma'am.
Why'd you have to fire him?
Drinking on the job.
And you fired him before you went to the...
Okay, I live in Portugal, folks, so every builder drinks on the job here until they go for lunch, which is 3 hours, and all beer. And then they come back and sort of tidy up a bit, and then they go home or back to the bar. I mean, is that not done in Miami?
On the second trip, correct?
I don't remember.
You had to get time off of the second trip, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You had to call your boss and ask him.
Yes,
He didn't have to because he wasn't working there.
yes, ma'am.
Now, around the time of the June trip, the first trip is what I'm going to keep calling it, okay? So that we can keep the 2 separate. Sigfredo did not have a job at that time.
No, ma'am, I don't think so.
And at that time, Katie, like you said, was dating the dentist, is what you called him.
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew what his name was at the time because Sigfredo Garcia.
What is it with these guys? I mean, is it like he was actually working, or is it like no show, no work job just to justify something on his tax return? I mean, did he actually lay blocks for a living? And then what? He's just the head of the Latin Kings, in the evenings and all day every weekend. I mean, when does he conduct his crime syndicate? you know. And then he brings in Sigfredo, who, as far as anyone can, is just a walking fuck up.
Garcia told you what his name was.
I did not remember his name. We just called him the dentist. That was his name.
The only way you could have known the name would have been from Sigfredo Garcia.
He said it was a dentist.
Okay.
Never gave me a name.
He never gave
until
you a
later
name.
on in the future.
All right. You recall giving a deposition in this case in March of this year in Tucson, Arizona?
Yeah.
Remember I was there? That's the first time we met?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr.
So we got Rabbit all the way from North Carolina. We got Matt Taormina all the way from Chapel Hill, Texas, suburb of Houston. Kerry, one of our Canadian brothers, sisters. And Hildy, let me guess where she's from. Wisconsin.
Mr. DeCoste was there?
Yes, ma'am.
Remember the court reporter that was there?
Yes, ma'am.
She took down everything we said?
Yes, ma'am.
You swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before you gave that testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? The same oath that you took today, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm referring court.
I think of a lot of us who may have been keen on Tara Kawass way back when, when this stuff was live off the hot press. But, Norway. Okay, well, in case you didn't know, Wisconsin is the Norway of America. So, good guess, I'd say. Yeah, a lot of us who were warm to Tara Kawass have kind of put her a little bit on ice. But, when I go back and I listen to Tara speak, I do remember that I was excited.
And counsel to the March 22nd deposition, page 31. And I'm starting at line 16 down to 24. Question. Did he give you at the time any specifics with who? Answer. Yes, he told me the dentist. I forgot his name. He said his name. I'm bad with names. He said the dentist. We'll just keep it like that. Did he tell you it was our boss? Yes. You remember telling us that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Charlie getting transferred to South Dakota. He's probably hoping to be the next face carved on Mount Rushmore. Yeah, it's gonna be. They're getting away with Lincoln and Franklin and Washington and whoever the other one is, and it's just going to be the Adelsons. They're renaming it Mount Adelson more.
Okay, and is that accurate? You told us that he did tell you the name at the time, but you just couldn't remember.
I'm bad with names.
I'm bad with names. Are we putting that on the t-shirt board, folks? Just a nice graphic of Luis Rivera saying, and then a speech comments, just, I'm bad with names. You can't argue with that, can you?
And you referred to him as her boss. He eventually became her boss. That's how Sigfredo would refer to him as, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's common knowledge amongst everyone that knew Sigfredo Garcia and Katherine Magbanua that she was working for Charlie Adelson, the dentist.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you said on cross-examination, Sigfredo Garcia was very jealous of Charlie Adelson.
Yes, ma'am.
He was very angry that they were dating, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to talk to you about that incident where you were in a truck with Sigfredo Garcia.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose truck was that?
Sigfredo.
Was that a Dodge truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Black truck?
Yes.
And you didn't know where you were going when he picked you up, right?
No, ma'am.
All of a sudden you're parking and you are observing Katherine Magbanua eating with someone, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Isn't it true that Sigfredo Garcia said, look at Katie over there with the dentist?
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't he say, I feel like taking my truck and running these motherfuckers over to the restaurant?
Yes, ma'am.
He also said, I should get this truck and just smash them and run their asses over while they're eating.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's fair to say that he was angry.
Yes, he was.
You had to talk him down. Isn't that true?
Yes, ma'am.
You had to stop him from running them over.
I was in that truck. I was not gonna do nothing like that.
And they didn't even know that you guys were there. Or you don't have any indication that they knew that you were there, right?
Didn't know if they knew we were there or not.
Okay. I mean, no one jumped out the car and approached them or anything like that.
No, ma'am.
Now, at this time too, when this breakup is going on, isn't it true that Sigfredo Garcia was dating who you termed as Shrimp?
Shrimp. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't her real name Stephanie Carmona?
I ain't know her real name.
The other nickname is Tati.
And in case anyone didn't realize, shrimp is not kosher. You're not allowed shrimp in a kosher diet. Or owl. No owl, no roast owl, no grilled owl. God, I wonder what that would taste like. I mean, it's just a bird, isn't it? Kind of gamey, I guess.
T is
I
what you
know
know
that.
her?
I know Tati, yeah.
What does she do for a living?
Like a stripper.
Overruled.
A stripper. Like
Okay.
dance.
And he started dating her, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point, he actually moved into her apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Where was her apartment?
I must sustain the relevant objection at this point. Move on, please.
He's a cokehead thug. You know, cokehead thug, stripper girlfriend. I'm gonna go out on a whim here and say it's been known to happen.
And Your Honor, it would be over my objection because there was no objection.
Well, I earlier denied her relevance objection. I think it's reached a point where I agree it's become irrelevant, so I'm sustaining her objection.
Now, in 2015, when the accident happened with Shrimp on the back, right? The bike accident.
Yeah.
Shrimp was on the bike with Sigfredo Garcia, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And this was in January of 2015,
I don't remember the month.
but it was in 2015
Yeah, before I got locked up.
before you got locked up. Okay. And Katherine Magbanua did not approve of his relationship with this woman, did she?
What you mean to prove? Like she ain't want with him?
Well, yes. I mean, she wasn't happy. She wasn't okay with him dating Shrimp, was she?
No, I guess.
Or you don't know?
I don't really know, to be
Okay.
honest.
But Mr. Garcia and Shrimp were still together in 2015 because they were on the bike together.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, your daughter, you have a daughter that was born in June of 2014, correct?
Yeah,
Lulu.
June 27th.
And so I don't say your name, we can refer to her as Lulu is her nickname, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Lulu was actually born on June 27th of 2014.
Yes, ma'am.
That is right dab smack in the middle of the two trips, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it'd be fair to say that that's a good reference point for your memory because you remember your daughter being born, right?
Of course.
And your daughter actually was born with a hole in her heart, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was in the hospital for a while.
Yes.
You were there every day.
Yes.
You remember that happening.
Of course.
All right. And of course you were there because you know how important it is to be a father to someone's kids, right? To your kids.
Of course, my baby girl.
Right. You don't only have one kid, do you?
No, ma'am.
How many do you have?
I got 5.
All right. And you take your role as father seriously?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now,
His role as father. I mean, okay. I guess he can do that from federal prison on a 19-year sentence. I mean, it's probably not a full-time job, but it is something he takes seriously.
Before we go any further, I would like to go over a timeline because I think this is going to assist. And this is just, I'm just going to be dealing with the different statements that you've given in this case. And Your Honor, I just want to make sure you can see. Okay, you ready? Now, before I go into the details of your participation in Dan Markel's execution, let's start with where all your statements were, okay? May 27th of 2016, you were in a federal detention center at Coleman in Orlando, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. At this point, you're already sentenced to 12 years in prison on your federal case.
12 and a half.
12 and a half, okay, thank you. And and this is a conviction for conspiracy, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we'll get back to those details. But on that date, okay, 2 detectives came to speak to you at Coleman, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And they specifically asked you about your involvement in a homicide in Tallahassee, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You flat out denied knowing anything about no murder.
Of course.
Okay, so on 5/27, it's fair to say you gave no information.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They read you your rights?
That day they see me, no.
They did not read you your rights?
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, does it, I mean, you know what your rights are.
Of course.
All right, so, but you don't know if,
I just don't remember.
all right, and you knew that that statement was recorded.
Everything is recorded.
All right, and I know you say that, but just to make sure it's clear for the jury, I'm going to ask, and you need to let me know if you think it was recorded or you know it was recorded, okay? So did you know that on 5/27 it was recorded?
I think everything is recorded.
Okay, so it's a think.
Everything is recorded.
Everything is recorded, okay. Did you see a tape recorder or anything in front of you?
They hide everything.
Okay, they had everything. They're the FBI. So let's now move on to what happens next. Then after 5/27, you've denied everything, right? Were you then charged with the murder of Dan Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You are, along with Sigfredo Garcia, are then transferred to Leon County, where you are right now, detention facility,
Yes, ma'am.
to face the charges, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And isn't it true that your warrant and everyone's warrant was released to the media?
Yes, ma'am.
Because your family called you and told you about it, right?
Of course.
And they spoke to you about all of the state's theory of what they thought the case was, right?
Yes, ma'am.
They could read it for themselves.
Yeah.
And Mr. Zanganeh brought out, you were made very well aware of the fact that the state was seeking the death penalty against you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
They were trying to kill you,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Now, your case is set for trial, all right? And you are appointed a lawyer by the state,
Yes, ma'am.
and that would be Mr. Collins.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you had 2 Collins representing you. Do you remember who was the primary attorney on your case?
Chuck Collins.
Chuck Collins, okay. Just, I want to make sure I'm referring to the correct one, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, before you took your plea, you and your lawyer went over all your evidence, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you're not going to take a plea unless you know what the evidence is against you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And your lawyer is under an obligation to go over all of the evidence with you.
Of course.
Did he show you any videos or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
Okay. But you went over at least all the reports and everything that was written down.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that's because when you take a plea, courts ask, do you understand what the evidence is against you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, so now we're moving to August 8th, okay? You signed a proffer agreement on August 8th, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, that had your signature on it, and it basically said that whatever you were going to tell the prosecution, you had immunity for it. Is that correct?
I don't remember.
You don't remember. Okay, so I have the document in front of me, and is it fair to say that the document, if your signature is on it, would be an accurate reflection
Yeah.
of what it said?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on just for now, and then we'll take that up a little later, all right? But your understanding was, I mean, let me know, you were just gonna talk to them without any protection?
Yeah. I need no protection. Like, I wasn't worried about protection, but now that all this came out to the media and everybody knows, I need protection.
Okay, and just so that while I have you on the stand, just to make sure, Your Honor, may I approach? Just for him to identify something, I'm not moving anything to evidence.
You given this a number?
Okay, so I know there's not a whole lot of love out there for Tara Kawass, and I understand why. She does talk to Rivera like he is developmentally disabled. I mean, it's quite like it's like he's just got off the slow bus and his helmet has fallen off and he's got an ice cream cone on his head. I mean, you know, it's like she's trying to be nice, but at the same time, even Luis Rivera's like, listen, just get to the point, lady. And I'll admit that the first time I watched the trial, I thought listening to Tara Kawass was like really exciting, and I thought she handled, I thought she represented her client well, which is her job, right? But nowadays, after many watches through, she is just not jiving with Tallahassee jury at all. This Judge Hankinson, is about as Tallahassee as you could be. Slow talking, kind of tired, Like if he were an animal, it would be the oldest turtle on Earth. Like in a Disney film or something, where the turtle takes 1 hour to go. Where do they go? The beach. He's like a turtle, and Tara Kawass is. That's another fun thing to do with this case is make everyone an animal, like Animal Farm, and just see what you come up with. What would Tara Kawass be? I think she'd be like a butterfly, but a really fast one. Maybe a wasp. Yeah, and that's another thing is she's got this kind of patois Caribbean style of speaking, which is just pretty unusual for a courtroom. And I really liked that the first time. She has these ways of making objections which are like she's the judge. She's just like, objection, lack of personal knowledge. Objection, facts not in evidence. Hey, Rabbit, what's this about a plaque? You want to get me a plaque? I want a statue at Florida State University, right next to the statue of Professor Markel. Or maybe not next to, but in the same garden.
All right, Mr. Rivera, I'm showing you what has been marked as a defense exhibit. It's defense exhibit number 3. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
You see what I'm showing you? Is this the first time you've ever seen this before?
No, ma'am.
Okay, this signature right here, is that your signature?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the setup on that day, all right? So you agreed to talk to the prosecution. This is August 8th, right?
Yes, ma'am?
All right. Your lawyer was there,
Yes.
and you were in a room with your lawyer, right?
Hello, Christine Green. You gotta love a name that rhymes, and rises in intonation. Christine Green.
Yes.
And the prosecutor and the investigator were actually in the other room. Isn't that true?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't remember the questions that they asked you?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember the answers that you gave?
No.
But you do remember that there was a back and forth.
Yes, ma'am.
And then before you would give your responses, you discussed it with your attorney. He would then give the answer over, and then it would just kind of go like a tennis match, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at that time on August 8th, okay, and we put question marks because you don't remember what.
Thanks for the kind words, Rabbit. Yeah, 100,000 subscribers. I think it might be a way off. I think Luis Rivera might be out of prison by the time that happens. Our next milestone, guys, is obviously to get Fancy Fiction to come over here and leave a comment. Wouldn't that be something? I get so many comments saying, "Where's Fancy Fiction?" I'm surprised Fancy Fiction hasn't chimed in yet. You know, and they're right. Where is she? Is she sick? Please, everyone in the chat, join all of us here at the team at True Crime Metrix, wishing a speedy recovery to Fancy Fiction.
What you said and what they said, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you and the prosecutor, one thing we know, were not able to come to an agreement at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
That's true, right?
That's true.
So your case is continuing in the trial path.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Then you have another meeting like that, the one I just described with the prosecutors in late September. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask you again, just so the record is clear, that wasn't recorded either, or it was?
Everything's recorded to my knowledge.
Okay. So then the next day on September 30th of 2016, isn't it true that Detective Isom and Agent Sanford came to the Jefferson County Jail to take a statement from you? You remember that? Or did they pull you out of the jail? You tell me.
No, I was in the jail.
You were in the jail when they took, this was before you go on the ride along with them?
Yeah.
Okay, so on that timeline, they meet with you in the jail and you provide them with a statement, right?
Yeah.
And the detectives are asking you all these questions, right?
Yeah.
But it's not recorded.
Oh, I don't know about that. Well, like I told you, to me, my knowledge, everything's recorded.
Do you remember if Detective Isom or Agent Sam?
I don't know why these defense lawyers, everybody knows that this is the most important witness, basically, of the whole trial. Even the forensic experts and the telephone experts, that's all just furniture, really. I mean, this guy was involved and is telling the story from the position of someone who was involved. It's the most important witness. It's the most damning. Why don't these defense lawyers just quickly get to their argument against him? Which would be what? Which would be, you are framing your best friends to protect your Latin King brothers who are trying to kill you because you've told on anybody, never mind just a Latin King, anybody. You're not allowed to tell on anybody. No snitching. Snitches get stitches. But like with Mr. Hand Grenade the other day, Tara Kawass is just laboriously going through. So was that interview recorded by law enforcement? Before you went on the ride along, when you rode down to Miami. And was it a McDonald's they got? you know.
Sanford, you know who those individuals are, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you remember if you saw them taking down notes?
I can't remember.
Okay. Now, after that meeting, isn't it true that you said you wanted 15 years for this?
Yeah.
Now, 15, I mean, you're already serving 12.
Yes, ma'am.
And so 3 would just be, I mean, if you get the gain time, if you do, you know, it's going to kind of line up. You wouldn't really spend too much time in state custody, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You tell them at that time that Garcia is the shooter, Sigfredo Garcia, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the
It's not Jerry Garcia, is it? You know, we're here at the Sigfredo Garcia murder trial. We know if you say Garcia, you probably mean that guy, not the singer from the Grateful Dead.
very next day, or it's not the next day, I think it's October 2nd, they actually come back to you and say that they're willing to offer you 19, right?
I think they tried to offer 25 and I denied it.
Okay, but then after October 1st, they came back to you and now the deal was had at 19 years.
19, yeah.
Did they tell you what happened on October 1st?
No,
Did they, did
I don't remember.
you know that Katie was arrested on that day? After you spoke to them?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
You don't remember, okay. Now, at that time, you sign an agreement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the plea cooperation deal that you made with the state, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's actually a signed document with your signature on it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sure your lawyer went over it with you, right?
Yes.
And it spells out what is expected of you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, do you remember the details of that proffer agreement,
No, ma'am.
that cooperation agreement? You do not, okay? So, but you do remember signing it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'm going to come back to that a little later, all right? So let's now talk now, and the final remaining statements, just so that I get your agreement on them so that we know it's accurate. November 29th, 2016, you meet.
She's still nowhere near a point. I mean, she's reading dates, she's going over the documents, and the jury is so bored right now. I'm bored, and this is my own show. So thanks for sticking with us in the chat, guys. You know, by the way, on that subject, I think when we get into these testimony commentary videos with 3 goddamn trials, you know, it happened with Wendy, now it's happening with Luis, I think we're going to take a break and do something a bit different next stream. You know what I want to do? I want to do the Michael Dunn interrogation. That is a good one, guys. There's a lot to work with there. How many of you all know the case of Michael Dunn? That's the man from Satellite Beach who went to his son's wedding in Jacksonville, and on his way back to his hotel with his own fiancée, got into a dispute with a bunch of kids, black kids, who were playing their music in a truck. And then he just grabbed his gun. You know, he asked them to turn the music down, and they did. And then one of the kids, these guys were like 19, I think one of them was 17, you know, kids. And one of them said, "Fuck that, turn up the music." And then they turned the music up, and then Michael Dunn lost his mind and grabbed his gun and started firing bullets into this car of 4 children, and very nearly killed 3 of them, but only one got shot and died pretty instantly, and he went on trial for murder after fleeing the scene. And then, you know, he walks into the interrogation room thinking, as a pretty well-to-do white software developer that he is, he'd have a good case of, well, it's my word against them, and black people are criminals. His words, not mine. Actually, he never said that. Well, he kind of did, actually, in not so many words, but yeah, it didn't work out well for him. He actually had 2 trials. So we're going to be starting off with his interrogation, which, as I said, is brilliant. Not so much in the way of looking at the flashy tactics of the cops, because they have him banged to rights from the minute he walks in, but just in terms of this guy and how he tries to get out of it, how he tries to reshape his story to become an innocent victim. You know, he didn't get a victim advocate like Wendy, unfortunately. Where was Sarah? Where was Sarah? Yeah, so I'm thinking we'll take a break from Luis Rivera's testimony footage and flip over to the Dunn case. Why not? There are no rules. Just curious if you guys already know about the case or whether we should think about some kind of introduction video that you can find his interrogation on YouTube. It's great, even without commentary. And there's lots of people making commentary about it, you know. That's your homework, guys.
Meet in front of a grand jury to provide sworn testimony, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You remember doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
Then on January 31st of 2018, you provided a depo to Mr. Zanganeh, deposition,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, where he sat down and he was asking you questions with a court reporter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then on March 22nd, 2019, that's when we took your deposition, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Same rules applied. You understand what your responsibilities were to tell the truth, correct?
Yes.
And I want to make sure I didn't miss anything out. I did leave one out. Actually, the only recorded statement that the cops took on October 4th, after you've cut the deal, right? You, Detective Isom and Agent Sanford and your lawyers finally sit down in a room, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And record your statement for the first time. According to them, it's the first recording we have of your statement.
I guess, I don't know.
Jack, I think he's answered the question. He doesn't know. He presumed everything was recorded.
It's the same.
Nice speaking objection, Georgia. I would expect nothing less. I mean, she's just like, listen, she's going on and on and on and on, and he's said it. And then she says it again. Go.
Have you seen that recording?
No.
You know that recording was released to the media?
Yes, my family saw.
Your family saw it, right? Now, your family, who is the closest one you're to?
My sister.
Your sister, which one? Maria?
Yes, ma'am.
Maria Rivera, she is your closest sibling, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, so now we're going to start jotting some things down, and I want to keep this very organized with trip 1 and trip 2, okay? Now, isn't it true that around this time in 2014, you were using Molly like candy?
I was using Molly like candy.
Mm-hmm.
Not like candy, but I use it.
You remember giving a statement in the deposition in Arizona? When I was there, Mr. DeCosta was
Yeah, I
there?
know you were there.
Okay.
I remember you being there. I ain't forget that.
You never said that?
I said, I did not forget you being there.
Okay. Is it your testimony you did not say that?
No, I did.
Oh, you did say it. Okay, so I
I
don't
took
need to-
Molly's, but not like candy. I don't remember saying like candy, but I don't remember saying like candy, but I took Molly's.
Okay. So I am going to refer the court and all counsels to page 41. So what about Molly? Starting at line 4 and ending at 7. So what about Molly, MDMA?
Christine, are you talking about in Wendy's trial? Because I got a feeling that when that day comes, Wendy is going to shut her lizard mouth, you know, because what would she have to gain from being turned upside down, inside out, hung, drawn, and quartered by Georgia Kappelman? she's not going to have any use and derivative use immunity in her own trial, which is the only reason she's testified in any other trials. She's probably going to be the only Adelson smart enough not to testify, which, Sigfredo didn't testify either, which was, what would be the point? He got convicted, but that would have been good. Would have been nice to hear something from him other than the calls where he's just drunk and coked out, getting yelled at by his baby mama Katie.
Oh yeah, Molly. We'll take Molly like candy. I forgot about Molly. Remember that?
I just say I forgot about it.
Okay. You also were doing cocaine.
Yeah.
Now, I want to start, the major thing is the first time you found out from Sigfredo Garcia that you were going to Tallahassee to execute a man that you did not know. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
In direct examination, I don't know how we're going to do this because you testified to two things. At first, you testified that you found out that it was a murder on the way up to Tallahassee. Remember that? And then on cross-examination with Mr. Zanganeh, you testified that you found out about it when you reached Tallahassee. You remember that?
I said that yesterday.
Yep.
No,
Oh.
That's an improper question. The jury will remember what was said. It's not for you to
But-
say what was said, Ms. Kawass.
Okay. Now on November 29th of 2016, you provided grand jury testimony, correct?
Yesterday, my grandma died. Yes, I remember.
You remember. And there was a court reporter there. She took down everything you said. You knew what your obligation was, which is to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was actually almost 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Okay. Now, on that date, you remember that you said, I found out about it on half the way up. Remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, on September 30th of 2016, you told the detectives that you found out about the murder on the departure date, but you got more details on the drive up. You remember telling them that?
I don't remember.
All right. Then on 10/4, your recorded statement, you said you found out before you even left Miami and even before Garcia rented the car, correct?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember saying that on the recorded statement?
I don't remember.
Okay. So we'll take that up a little later. Now on January 31st, you then go back and say that you find out about the murder on the drive up. You were by Orlando. You remember that?
I don't remember for real.
Okay, so now you don't remember what you said in the depositions?
No, it's been 5 years ago. I can't remember all of this.
Well, let's talk about the deposition that you gave a few months ago with me in March of 2019.
Let's go.
You said you found out the murder halfway up on the drive.
Yeah, I remember telling you that.
Now, Sigfredo Garcia told you on several occasions, on your different statements, that Wendy Adelson was the person financing this murder for hire thing. Is that true?
Repeat the question again, please.
That Sigfredo Garcia told you that Wendy Adelson was the person financing this murder.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But on 9/30, when you were talking to the detectives, you referred to her as the woman with 2 kids that wanted her ex-husband killed. Remember you told them that?
Yes, ma'am.
Then on 10/4, you said Sigfredo Garcia told you that he got the money from the lady and he never said her name. That's what you said on 10/4, right?
I don't remember.
Don't remember. Then on 11/29, that's when you say that Garcia told you that the money came from Wendy.
You see, he has a pretty good reason. It was 5 years ago. He doesn't remember every detail, but every time she gets him on that, Tara Kawass is like, oh, you don't remember that? You don't remember that? You don't remember that? Do you remember what you said in a meeting 5 years ago? Okay, fair enough. It would probably stick out in your mind more than some, business meeting that you had 5 years ago that isn't a deposition for first-degree murder. Yeah, okay. But 5 years, man, I mean, that's long. That's long. She acts like she's getting these quick wins, like, yeah, well, you don't remember that? It must be a lie then. The jury's like, we don't remember what the question was. We're having trouble keeping up, Tara. Can you do something that's like, relevant? Christopher, this kind of thing doesn't happen with Christopher DeCoste. Same client, same case, same witness. 2022, it's Christopher DeCoste and Luis Rivera. Now, understanding your reluctance about the next topic, let's get into it. The Latin Kings. He's got the way to keep the jury wanting more. I just think he's second best lawyer to Georgia Cappleman in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Then on January 31st, you said Sigfredo said again that Wendy was going to pay. Remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
But then in March of 2019, you told us the dentist's sister wants her kids back. That's what you said.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, on the drive up, you previously testified that Sigfredo was constantly on the phone with Katherine on the drive up.
He was on the phone from time to time with Katherine.
Okay, so your
Christine has a good question. Will Harvey show up at Donna's trial? He will be sitting at home alone if he doesn't. Yeah, him and Macaulay Culkin. No, I think what's going to happen with Harvey is he's going to check himself into a real cushy retirement community, nursing home, the kind of place where you can choose your own armchair and have it delivered, a Barker lounger with the shiatsu massage, and you get really high quality meds, and you have a choice of strawberry ice cream or tapioca pudding or whatever every day. I think that's the place Harvey's thinking of, and then he'll be like, well, I would come and testify because we've nothing to hide, but I am ill and infirmed and demented, so what use would I be? And by the way, I didn't do anything.
words back then were constantly on the phone. So is your testimony today, because this is important, is that he was sometimes on the phone with her?
He was on the phone. He was on the phone.
A lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ian, Harvey is still in Miami International Airport, walking around, asking people for coffee in that thick Brooklyn coffee accent, wondering where he is, trying to sleep on those benches that have armrests all over them so you can't lie down. And yeah, maybe he just stands in an elevator and never leaves.
That will be reflected on his phone records, right?
Should be.
It should be. Okay.
Not if you got a throwaway phone.
Did he have a throwaway phone?
Yes, ma'am.
But he only had one phone, right?
That one phone was a throwaway phone.
Just the throwaway phone.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the other phone that he had that was connected to the actual line that he had? Describe it for me.
We had two phones. I had two phones. He got two phones.
What phone did you have?
I got two phones.
I know you had two phones, but one was an iPhone, right?
Both of them was iPhone.
Oh, okay. So do you remember what type of phone he had? I know you said there's a
It was
throwaway.
A flip phone.
A flip phone.
Yeah.
Okay. But you clearly remember that on the trip, the phone that he had
It's a flip phone.
was a flip phone. That's not the burner phone.
That is a burner.
That
phone.
is the burner phone,
Yes, ma'am.
the one that's not connected to the line that everybody knows.
But yes,
Okay. Now, on every single statement that
No running birds, no killers are getting out of jail soon. Friggin' Sigfredo is like just really gone in with a big commitment to be prison gang 101. He's stabbing people in the eye. He's got a hit out on Charlie. He's making a ladder out of his own hair, and and like what are your cell phones, drugs, making hooch wine. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, if you really were in prison forever, I mean, I guess that'd be the thing to do, right? There's no sense in anything else. I mean, that's why life sentences, just as a deterrent, are pretty stupid. Or, it's difficult, isn't it? Who am I to say? But obviously it's not a deterrent. It's what do you call it? Retribution to the victims, to the family. He took the life of Professor Markel. He's just not getting out. There's no appeal. There's nowhere to go for Sigfredo. So obviously he was a bad dude anyway. So he's gonna be running prison gang and stabbing people in the eye and throwing cups of urine on guards, all sorts of stuff.
that you've ever made, except for the ones where you don't remember and that you denied everything. Up until yesterday, you have consistently said that Garcia drove the entire drive up on the first trip.
yes, ma'am.
It's only until they showed you the traffic ticket that you got that you changed and said, oh, wait, I may have driven on the first trip.
Yeah, I drove the other half. I didn't remember. It's been a long time. I really didn't remember. But yeah, I did drive the other half. We had stopped. Like, man, I'm tired. Take the other half. And I took the other way all the way up.
Okay, but if I go through each one of those statements, it will say that you said Garcia drove the entire way up.
I could say that I said it. I didn't remember
Okay, but
until I got the ticket.
until
I
you
seen
got the ticket.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your lawyer didn't go over that with you? The ticket?
Yeah.
He did go over it
He
with you?
told me.
Okay.
But I thought I got the ticket on a Prius.
But it says
I was
what car
confused.
that you have on the ticket.
I know, but I was confused.
Now, one thing that may have affected your ability to remember things is, let's talk about how much drugs you were using on the trip, okay? Now, you testified that you were, I mean, I don't know how much 15 grams are, but that sounds to me like it's a lot of cocaine. Is it a lot?
Not really.
It's not a lot? Okay. How much would that street?
Well, is 15 grams a lot? I mean, for what? To do in a day? Well, that'd probably kill most people unless they were habitual users. I mean, that's a lot of cocaine, man. Unless you're Ike Turner, who would do like $50,000 worth a day. I mean, Ike, put it down, man. Come on, Ike. Studio time, Mike. Ike. Mike. Yeah, Mike Turner.
That's a half an ounce.
Half an ounce. Okay, that I can better visualize how much that is. Okay. Now, it wasn't just cocaine though. I know yesterday you said you weren't smoking weed, but that's not true, is it?
No, I didn't smoke no weed. I was on probation. I couldn't smoke weed.
Okay. So your testimony today is you did not smoke weed, right?
No, I didn't smoke no weed.
You gave a statement, a recorded statement to the detectives in this case on October 4th of 2016, correct?
Yeah.
The detectives were there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Your lawyer was there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, before they even put you on record, they explained to you what the consequence was for lying, right?
Yes, ma'am.
They explained to you that you'd be facing a misdemeanor perjury charge is what they told you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, I'm referring court and counsel because it's recorded, right? And you told the truth at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. To page 14 of the October statement, starting at line 12 and finishing at line 16. And I said, all right, let's ride. Got in the car and he drove. I was on the passenger side. I was rolling a blunt and we drove. I was drinking the whole night that way.
I don't think I smoked. I can't remember. I don't think I smoked because I know I was on probation.
But you were drinking and driving while you were on probation.
Yeah, you can drink it. Don't come out of my P test.
Can you possess a firearm while you are on probation?
No, not at all. You can't
But
do
you-
nothing when you're on probation.
But you possessed a firearm though.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see, Kawass really should know better on that. It's like, he didn't say, I didn't smoke weed because I was on probation, as in, I wasn't going to be doing anything illegal while I was on probation. It was just about what could be proven by a urine test. They're not going to urine test you for drink driving, man. She's a criminal defense attorney. She should know this shit.
Now, Sigfredo Garcia was also drinking and doing drugs as well too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you weren't taking any medication at that time?
No, ma'am.
Neverly, darling, how you doing, girl?
Now, the next thing I want to ask you, and this is on the first strip, is about the paper that you said Sigfredo Garcia pulled out. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I think you said that it had a picture on it
Yes, ma'am.
and that there was an address on it, is what you think it was.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? And no one asked you, but what did the picture look like?
Excuse me?
What did the picture look like?
A picture of him.
I know. Describe it.
A regular piece of paper
Okay?
with a picture of him and the address.
It was in black and white or color?
A black and white. I think so.
Now, you had no idea who Dan Markel was at that time.
At all. No.
You didn't even know the name.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, on September 30th of 2016, you told the detectives it was a color picture.
I told him, is it black and white or color? I did not remember. I told him just like that.
Hold on, because I need to.
Again, what are you doing? Just wasting everyone's time. He's saying, we had a picture of Professor Markel. We went there to kill him. We did it because we heard that the lady wanted her kids back or someone was paying. We were just told to go and kill this guy. That's what we did. Yeah, but was the picture black and white or color? You said it was color, but it could have been black and white. I mean, I guess. No, even if there was a huge cumulative thing of these errors or contradictions from him, he's got the whole story and it fits with everything.
To write this down because it's not recorded.
You know, most importantly, their phone records, the rental records, where the car is the most identifiable Prius in Florida. It's got the sun pass on it. It's got a missing towing eye cover. It's got a aftermarket side mirror attached that's a different color than the car when the stock mirrors are the same color as the car. You can see them on the bus cam in the car. He tells us about the bullet hole that Sigfredo shot in the car, which they later tracked down the car and found the bullet hole. I mean, yeah, but was the picture of Professor Markel color or black and white? Shut up.
That you told the detectives it was either a color
Or black and white.
picture or a black and white. You didn't know. That's what you told them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, on October 4th, 2016, you said it was black and white, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Fourth time on this black and white color issue.
But in deposition with me, you described this in detail that it was in color.
I can't remember that it was black and white. So y'all kept throwing just throwing at me. So I tell you it was black. I tell you it was in color.
So you weren't truthful when you told me that?
Yeah, it was truthful, but I couldn't remember if it was black and white or in color. Just like I told the detective and I told you.
But just so that it's clear, because I'm not understanding right now, you answered my question
Yes, ma'am.
and you said it was in color.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember at the end of the deposition, I asked if there's anything you needed to change?
Yes, ma'am.
You also remember if I said if there's anything important that you need to change, you let me know?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you didn't do that.
I don't have your, how,
The page and line.
That would be in the, what are we on, the color? Oh, that would be on the March deposition at page 87. You're welcome. 87? 87. Just make sure I
Bottom
don't
of
want
the
to be leaving anyone. 24. And I want to make sure the record is clear.
Judge, I'm gonna object in proper impeachment. I don't think this is inconsistent. I'll ask the answer be read.
Hold on.
Let's ask, let's be verbatim, read the question.
Yes,
and the
hold on,
answer.
Your Honor, because I don't have it highlighted.
Line 24. So I'm on-
Oh, okay, yes, I'll read it. Thank you. Ms. Councilman. So at the end of page 87 and the beginning of page 88, was the picture in color or black and white? Shit. Sorry. It's been
Yeah, oil pastels. In fact, what it was a 1920s decoupage of Professor Markel. Yeah, they for his hair color they used fields of wheat, and for his eyeglasses they used you know, an ice skating rink. Two of them side by side.
been a while. That's in the transcript, Judge. Probably was in color. I think he had a white shirt on. I'm not too sure.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's talk about, I think we already talked about the cell phones. You had 2 and he had 1.
Yes, ma'am.
This is on trip 1, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next topic I want to talk about is the number of guns that you brought on the trip, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we've already established that you're on probation in Miami-Dade at this time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And even though you testified in court that you found out on the trip up, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not true because you actually got the gun before you left. Isn't that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so before even leaving, you went and obtained the firearm that was used to kill Dan Markel.
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason you went and got another gun is because the gun that Sigfredo Garcia showed you, you said that wasn't good for a killing, correct?
I thought it was a big ass gun.
And that it would blow someone's brains out, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you told him.
Yes, ma'am.
So you then suggested, let me go find a better gun to kill someone else.
He told me to find a smaller one, and I went and got another one.
Okay. So you go into the street, right? This is the day of the murder.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, no, this is the day before you leave on the first trip. And you go to some kid in Overtown, is what
Yes,
you
ma'am.
said? Okay. You don't know this person's name?
No, ma'am.
We'll never be able to find them,
No, ma'am.
but you bought a gun from him in cash.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So way before you even leave, you know what you're going to Tallahassee to do.
To rob somebody. I'm thinking we're gonna go rob somebody.
So even still now, your testimony is that you didn't know it was a murder until you went up?
Until I got in that car and we spoke about it going up there.
But couldn't you only use one gun for a robbery? Why you need 2?
Just 2 people,
So
me and him.
if you're gonna take someone's money, you just need to point one gun at them, right?
What happened if they pull on you?
You have got your gun?
We took 2 guns, ma'am.
Okay, well, you're the expert. So, now, not only did you buy the gun before you left, you went and bought the bullets, right?
Where was she going with that? I mean, has there ever been a heist or a robbery even in a movie where 2 guys go, robbers, and they say, well, you know, we probably only need 1 gun. I tell you what, let's just put 1 bullet in the gun.
Yes, ma'am.
But we'll talk about that when we get to the second trip. So you come up to Tallahassee now, and you have been consistent that 2 guns on the first trip. Everybody had 2 guns, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Zanganeh put up on the projector your phone records. You saw that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you know that the prosecution, and you know from the evidence, that they have your phone records of you pinging up in Tallahassee.
Yes, ma'am.
Your lawyer went over that with you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And would you be surprised for me to tell you that you were only on the first trip in Tallahassee 1 night?
I can't remember that.
Okay, but would the phone records be more accurate? Because they can't change the phone records, right?
I guess not. I don't know.
Okay, so we can rely on the phone records as to how long you really stayed in Tallahassee.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One thing we do know is that you did get a traffic ticket at around 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So the map situation. Right, so yesterday you testified that he didn't need a map.
Nobody never asked me for no map. He said, electronic.
Okay, so you know on 9:30 you told the detectives no need for a map at all. He drove straight to the hotel.
No, I think I told him we stopped and got a map in the store.
Okay, so another thing you told the detectives was that you stopped
And got a map.
and got a map. Okay. Okay. Now, another thing that you testified to is Garcia scoping out Dan Markel's house.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're sure that this happened on the first trip?
No, I'm not sure.
Now you're not sure. Okay. Now I want to ask you about something else that you talked about. Well, I'm actually can't remember if you talked about. Was there an incident in Tallahassee where you pulled 2 guns on 4 people?
Objection, relevance?
Overruled.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know if that was the first trip or the second trip?
First sure.
First trip. Okay. So let's talk about that. Garcia had left the hotel room,
I'll
right?
sustain the objection at that point.
Your Honor, may
I
we go,
sustain the objection.
can we go sidebar?
No. Move on.
You never mentioned that incident to the detectives in September, did you?
Objection.
Sustain.
Yeah, Ian, you know it, man. I mean, she's like, so when you stopped at Burger King on in your deposition on 10-4, you said you got a Diet Coke, but today it's regular Coke.
Okay, so now let's talk about the second trip. You knew from the first trip, because you testified on this on direct, that Dan Markel was a father, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You knew he had 2 kids.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the month span between the first trip and the second trip, you yourself had a baby, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when Sigfredo Garcia came to you to ask you to go back to Tallahassee.
Okay, the thing on Sigfredo and his Rain Man style map reading skills, it's what is the name? Thomasville. Thomasville is like the main drive transit road through Tallahassee. If you're going to Georgia, you'll take Thomasville. If you're going south to Gainesville, you'll take Thomasville. You know, it's just the main junction that comes in and out of Tallahassee, north or south, is Thomasville. Trescott is on Thomasville. So you go, okay, we're going to get off the interstate and go on to Thomasville, and then we take a right onto Trescott when we see it. I mean, that is not hard. That is not like, what would be hard? A series of winding, turning roads over hills, through tunnels, valleys, up and down a mountain range. It's the main road and then turn right.
Tallahassee, to execute this father, you had no problem with it, did you?
That's my best friend. I took the ride with him.
So you
He
had
said he
no
only
problem
trusts
with it.
me, so I took the ride with him.
So you had no problem with it.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't call the police? Did you?
No.
You didn't try to talk him down like you did with the car.
No, ma'am.
And you probably could have, but you didn't.
No, ma'am.
So now you're driving up to Tallahassee to kill this man that you don't know. And correct me if I'm wrong, in between that time, you never had any face-to-face meetings with Katherine.
No, ma'am.
Okay, never even spoke to her.
Nope.
Okay, so before you leave on this trip, you go and rent the Prius.
Yes, ma'am.
It's in your name.
Yes, ma'am.
You drove.
Yes, ma'am.
The gun used to kill Dan Markel, that was your gun, right?
Got a bot in the corner. Yes, ma'am.
The one you bought,
Yeah.
the
Not
one,
my gun.
the one you bought the bullets for.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The gun, the other gun, what you called it, the long nose,
Yes, ma'am.
that wasn't used.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's talk about how many guns were taken on the second trip. How many guns were on the second trip?
I think we took one.
Okay, so your testimony today is that you think you took one.
Yeah.
Okay. You remember giving a deposition, in this case on January 31st of 2018 with Mr. Zanganeh?
Yeah, I remember taking a decision with him.
Okay. And you swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth like you're doing today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Court and Counsel, page 94. Lines 3 to 10. Garcia, he had the gun, the little small one, the black one, not the long nose. No, he busted. Who had the long nose? He did. He had both of them by his leg. He had both guns? Yeah.
That was the first trip.
Would you like me to go back further and give you a little more context?
No, ma'am.
Because this is when you were talking about the shooting of the hole in the bottom of the Prius.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's the second trip. And Your Honor, I can hear Ms. Kappelman saying things behind me. If we could ask her to just keep it down. Okay, thank you. Okay, now, on this second trip, isn't it true that you brought with you masks and hoodies?
Yeah, I always kept them in my car regardless.
Okay, but you brought them with you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And this would be in an attempt to conceal your identity?
Yes, ma'am.
But you never told the detectives about that on 9/30, right?
I don't remember.
Okay. You didn't tell them about it in September?
I don't remember.
Okay, we'll make it easy. The first time you ever talked about bringing hoods and masks and all of these things was January 31st, right?
I think I brought them, but I don't remember telling them nothing about no mask.
So I can ask the detectives.
Hey, you can ask them.
Another thing that you testified to now, how was Mr. Garcia's phone communication with Miss Magbanua on the ride up? They talk a lot?
Yeah,
How much?
I don't remember.
Okay, and all of this will be reflected on his phone, or did he have a throwaway phone this time?
I had a throwaway phone.
Okay, and how did you know it was Katherine Magbanua he was talking to?
It's the only person he's talked to is her. He don't talk to nobody else.
He doesn't talk to his girlfriend Shrimp?
Not in that phone.
Doesn't talk to his mom?
No.
Okay, so the only phone number in his phone records should be Katherine's, right?
I mean, if he, on the throwaway phone, you ain't gonna find. I don't think you'll find some phone numbers.
Well, then Katherine wouldn't be calling him on his regular phone if she knows about the throwaway, right?
She called him on the throwaway. They have to
Okay.
throw away from him.
So there should be no records of any calls with Katherine on his real phone.
I can't tell you that.
What was Katherine Magbanua's phone number back then?
The last 4.
Yeah, Nancy, she's wasting people's time. And you know what? I really think that's a bad tactic when you're dealing with a jury, because juries get frustrated. And if they start to switch off listening to you, you've got so much less space to make your point when it counts. You know, if you've built up this kind of rep with the jury where they're just like, oh, okay, I'm going to zone this out for the next hour and a half. I wonder what they're serving for lunch today. Cuban sandwiches all round. You know, it's not good, because when it comes to closing argument and they start to hear Kawass's voice again, they're just going to be thinking about that Cuban sandwich.
I can tell you, I think it was 13, 16, or 16, 17, around there.
Okay. Now, the first day on the second trip, okay, you say that you went and you scoped out the house, right?
The first trip,
Second trip now.
Second trip.
I'm done with the first trip. We'll just focus on the second trip, okay? So now you've driven up to Tallahassee with Garcia. You guys are in the Prius, okay?
yes, ma'am.
And day one, you scope out Dan Markel's house.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There was a couple times where you actually see him going and you follow him to the daycare, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you see him drop his kids off, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you don't abandon the plan.
No, ma'am.
Now, the very next day, which would be the Thursday, the day before the murder, isn't it true that you say that you saw when?
Hey, Rabbit, Walmart is not that cheap no more. I heard that they're going to start charging people, is it $12 or $24 a year to use the self-checkout line? Why? Because they thought that the self-checkout line would save money because they'd have to hire less employees. But actually, everyone's stealing. So they're losing money on all the stock. So now, if you want that self-checkout line, you got to pay. You got to pay $24 a year.
Wendy Adelson walking on Trescott Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the street of Dan Markel's house.
Yes, ma'am.
You remember that this took place before 12 p.m., correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And what you saw was she was 2 houses down from Markel's house with the boys, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You say that you guys come face to face with each other.
Face to face. I'm in the car driving.
Right. But
She's
that,
walking.
she's walking. So
I
are
can see.
you,
I can see through my rear mirror. I looked at her. I can see it through my rear mirror, looking at the car.
so just so I can picture it in my mind, are you guys walking in the same direction or is she walking towards you?
We're not walking. I'm in the car.
He's just said and indicated with his hand that he's holding a steering wheel, saying that he's in the car looking at her in the rear view mirror. Yeah, but were you walking toward her? Jesus, I can't believe that I was, that I quite liked Tara Kawass first time round.
Car driving.
No, I
She's
know.
walking.
I apologize. So you're driving. Are you driving towards her face to face?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I was asking you. And you testified today that she got on the phone as soon as you passed her.
Yes, ma'am.
And then she then walked up into Dan Markel's house.
Yes.
That you remember her seat with the boys walking up into
She
Dan
passed.
Markel's
I think
house.
she had passed his house. I can't remember. I'm not even gonna say that. I can't remember.
Okay, so you know where I'm going with this. You know
Yeah.
you didn't say that in any of your statements, right?
I don't remember.
Do you remember that you say, so at this point, you see this woman and you say you recognize that she's staring at you. So you bring it to Mr. Garcia's attention, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What was his response?
That's that lady. That's the lady with the kids.
Okay, so he didn't even say her name.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know you remember giving the recorded statement on October 4th of 2016 with the detectives? The one that's online?
No.
You don't
I
remember doing that?
remember the
Okay.
recording, but
You said that Sigfredo told you that's Wendy and that she came to make sure
I
everything
just
is all
told you I
right.
don't remember.
So you don't remember that either. Is that what your testimony is today?
The day of when I had with the detective, I remember telling him that, but right now I'm telling you, I don't remember. You refreshing my memory. So
No, that's fine. So when I told you that you said that, you remember that you told that to the police?
yeah, right now I do.
Okay. And you told them it happened before 12?
Yeah.
And that Sigfredo already knew it was Wendy?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about someone by the name of Mr. Nobles. Who is that? Shadrick Nobles. I think he was selling you guys some stuff while you were in Tallahassee.
We have got to do a video on Shadrick Noble's testimony. It's going to be a one-size-fits-all video, man. And it's going to be the thing that brings fancy fiction over to the table. We got a seat all set up. Ready to go, baby.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Shadrick Nobles, the guy who was selling you cocaine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you guys got his phone number from the first trip, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you happened to run into him again on the second trip, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So whose phone had his phone number in it?
He put the number on my phone, but he tried to call him from his phone. He wouldn't answer, so he called him from my phone.
Okay, so any calls from your phone to Nobles is Garcia making it on your phone?
Yeah, you'll hear his voice if you got the recording.
Okay, and since he was only using a throwaway phone, there should be no phone calls between your phone and Garcia's registered phone?
I never called Garcia from my phone.
No, that wasn't my question. My question is because you say he only had a throwaway, you two weren't communicating on, I mean, you guys were always together. There would be no need for
Yes,
any
ma'am.
phone calls.
I don't need no phone calls.
No phone calls, okay. Now, do you remember in your, hold on, let me see which page that is. Your statement that you gave to the police. Hold on, guys. Now, you told us, okay, that you told this to the detective, that's Wendy. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And isn't it true that the detectives then showed you a picture of her? And
Sure,
you
ma'am.
ID'd her?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds familiar to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we should have a picture of Wendy Markel with, Wendy Adelson with your signature on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the next day is the murder, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, before the murder, did something unusual happen with the car?
Before the murder?
Before the murder?
Yeah, he shot a hole right through the car.
Who shot a hole through the car?
Garcia,
Okay, what gun was he using?
the little one.
The little one, the one that was used to kill Dan Markel.
Yes, ma'am.
Where was the long nose?
We didn't have no long nose.
Okay.
I don't think we had one.
Now, the shooting of the car, the person who was there that can testify to that is Shadrick Nobles, right?
He don't know nothing about it. We ain't never told him.
But he drove you to the AutoZone,
He drove Garcia to the AutoZone.
okay, to pick up parts to repair the car and come back, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he saw you guys there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is someone from Tallahassee?
Yeah, I think he lives in Tallahassee.
All right. Now, let's also talk about this owl on Instagram. Okay? Today in trial, you testified that you had put an owl on Instagram
Yes, ma'am.
and that Katie called Sigfredo, Katherine Magbanua called Sigfredo Garcia, who then told you, take the picture down.
Yes, ma'am.
And you took the picture down.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you didn't mention this at all in your September 30th statement.
I don't remember.
Okay. You mentioned it to the detectives in your recorded statement, which is the October 4th one, right?
I don't remember.
You mentioned it, you didn't mention it at all in January, right?
I don't think so. Nobody never asked me, so I don't remember.
But then you told us it was either Facebook or Instagram, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But since October 4th of 2016, the detective knew that you had an Instagram account, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You told him?
Yeah.
Okay. They also knew you had a Facebook account?
I ain't never put up, somebody did a Facebook under my name, never did it myself.
What was your Instagram name?
My name? My name?
Oh, Luis Rivera?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
But that one would have been Dado, King Dado, King Dado.
King Tasso. Okay. Now, you testified earlier that Garcia asked you to commit the murder, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he asked you this the day before the homicide,
Yes, ma'am.
all right? So let's talk about the day of the homicide. You get up in the morning and you know that you are going to go kill Dan Markel, right?
Yes, ma'am.
No attempts made to stop anybody, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You guys get in the car, you're driving,
Mhm.
and you follow Dan Markel to the daycare and watch him drop his kids off, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you wait till he gets back in his car, and then he goes to the gym, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You sit there and you wait for him to get out,
Yes.
and then you go to his house, and you follow him to his house, right?
Yes.
And your testimony is that you pulled up behind him in the driveway, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and that Sigfredo Garcia got out and shot him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it true that you knew that Markel put his hand up to his face, Dan Markel?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Sigfredo Garcia was doing coke and alcohol all morning, right?
Yeah.
And you were too.
Woke up, took a shower, probably. I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
All morning? I don't remember that.
Okay. Do you remember if you consumed anything that morning?
I don't
Okay.
remember.
Don't remember, but you may not have because you needed to keep a clear head.
Probably.
Okay. Now, a big thing that everyone is making, or that you're making a big deal about, something you remember, is this first phone call after you guys murder Dan Markel and leave Tallahassee, right?
Yes, ma'am.
He just, according to you, he just jumps in the car and you guys take off, right?
That's the truth.
But isn't it true you told the detectives that you drove slowly because you didn't want to bring any attention to yourself?
Yeah. He wanted me to drive fast. I was like, no,
You're gonna take it.
Yeah, we drove slowly for the first hour. Then we realized it was a 7-hour drive and we thought we could do it in 3. We were in a hire car. We said, fuck it. And,
Slow,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And there's no phone calls until this first phone call that you say to Katie, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is all laid out in your discovery, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in the deposition, you said that what Sigfredo said, what you heard. Well, let me get this, because I need to understand this. Did you hear Katherine Magbanua's voice, or did Garcia tell you that Katie said what she said?
I can't hear her voice.
You could hear her voice. Isn't it true that in September, when you were speaking to the detectives, you first told them Garcia told you, but then you switched to, I could hear Katie myself.
I don't remember that.
I'll ask the detective. Now, she wasn't on speaker, right?
No.
Your testimony is on this flip phone that Garcia has up to his ear, that you can hear Katherine's voice, right?
I don't know if he called I can't remember if it was a flip phone or my phone, but I can hear her.
But you can hear her.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you already testified that you don't talk to her on the phone, right?
I don't.
You're not friends with her.
I know her.
You know her,
Yeah, I know her.
but you guys don't talk on the phone every day.
Well, I don't have no reason to call her.
I understand, but I'm saying you
No,
don't
ma'am.
know. You don't speak to her on the phone every day, right?
No, ma'am.
She doesn't speak with an impediment, does she?
What that mean?
Does she speak with like any type of stutter or, anything that would make her voice stand out?
No.
Does she speak with an accent?
Katie, no.
No? Okay.
What does that mean? Doesn't everybody have an accent? I know that there's some wide debate going on about what the hell mine is, but everybody has an accent. Or does it when you're asking someone do they have an accent, is it like do they have a French accent or a Mississippi accent? Does it have to be something that's like really thick?
Now, let's talk about the different things that you say that Sigfredo Garcia said, okay? I'm gonna go in order. In September 30th, you said, this is what you told the detective. He said, it's done, and she said, I know.
Yes, ma'am.
That was it, okay? Then, on January 31st, in your deposition, you said that Sigfredo said, the shit is done. Katie said, I already know. Then Sigfredo said, make sure the money is there. And then Katie said, you're gonna go get your money.
Yes, ma'am. She said next day.
Okay, so then you say in the deposition, all the way in March, it changes again, right? Because now you say, he says, it's done. When do we get the money? I asked who you are calling. He said, you know, I gotta call my baby mama. That's what you said in March.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's fair to say that you don't remember exactly what was said on the phone, right?
I mean, it's worded different, but it's the same thing.
No, but these are your words I'm talking about.
Yes,
You've
ma'am.
consistently changed what you heard.
No, I ain't changed nothing.
Okay. Now, yesterday, well, let's talk a little bit about your status in federal custody, okay? So in 2015, right,
Yes, ma'am.
you were in jail.
Yes,
Talk to me about what do they do when you're in jail to your phone calls?
they tap all your phone calls
So all your phone calls are recorded, right?
to this day.
To this day. And so the state can get them if they want to, right?
Yeah.
They also have all of your emails, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Explain to the jury what core links is.
It's you can text. I mean, well, send emails out there to the world.
Okay, so you can actually email people from federal prison,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
You can't do that in state.
No.
No.
I don't know
And
what state. I've never been to state, so I don't know nothing about state.
you've never been to state.
Talk to me about the feds.
Okay, so the feds is wherever
Talk to me
you got
about
your
the
knowledge,
feds.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, to be clear, while you're staying here in Tallahassee, you're in state custody, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to email, right?
I mean, you got tablets.
Oh, they have that now?
They have them here.
Okay, but they didn't, to your knowledge, they didn't have that back in 2014, right?
No.
Okay, and here too, all of your phone calls are recorded, right?
Every day.
Okay, and in the feds, it's, if someone comes to visit you, it's a full-on contact visit, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if a family member came to see you, you can actually sit there with them face to face and have a conversation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not recorded.
That's not recorded.
All right. So now let's talk about when, oh. All right, now, over the past couple of days, you've testified that there were only 2 trips in this case, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it true there was a third one?
I can't remember.
You can't remember, okay? Do you remember telling me in the deposition that there was a third trip that didn't involve you?
Oh, yeah, I remember telling you that, but it wasn't me.
Okay, no, but you remember telling me
I
that you
told
knew
you he
about.
probably came up here with somebody else.
Okay,
That's what I told you.
but you told us about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that, I think your words were he went up there with another king.
Yeah.
But you never mentioned that in any one of your other statements, correct?
Nobody asked me but you.
I asked you if there was a third trip or
Yeah.
you offered that information to me.
No, you asked me there was more trips.
So I'm gonna refer you back to the deposition, okay? That you took with us in Arizona. State was there, you were swore to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Let's go to page 102. I have to just find the correct.
Bottom of 103.
103, thank you. Okay, 103, page lines 20 to 25. This is the first trip in June question, the witness. The first trip in June, the second trip, and the third trip. Every time we went up there, we was always cooked up and drinking. You said that to us, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So now let's talk about the day that you returned to Miami, which is the same day as the shooting, correct? Because you guys just leave.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you come back to Miami. Now, you are living with Jessica Rodriguez at that time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. She is the mother of Lulu, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She had just had the baby, right?
Yes.
That's going to be another piece of bait to bring Fancy in, people. She loves Jessica Rodriguez. And so do we.
You weren't living with Leona Diaz, were you?
No.
Leona Diaz is the mother of one of your children, correct?
3 of my children.
3 of your children, okay. And she is the address that is the Normandy Drive address, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the one that's on your driver's license.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you come back to Miami, right? And Garcia dropped you off and
Yes, ma'am.
kept the Prius with him.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That night, you guys all go out and drink
Yes, ma'am.
after you killed Dan Markel.
Yes, ma'am.
The next morning, your testimony is that you went to the barber shop.
Yes, ma'am.
This barber shop is called, the King Barber Shop, right?
Reyes King, I don't know.
It's right by Biscayne Boulevard, correct?
Yeah.
On 135th Street,
139.
139th. That's where the
Yes, ma'am.
it is, right? It's not on Miami Beach.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Annie lives on Miami Beach.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now your testimony is you are at the barber shop
Yes, ma'am.
when you get a phone call.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. It's Jessica calling you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, babe, Katie and Tutu are here. That's what she tells you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, on 10/4, you say that this is a conversation that you had with Jessica. Tutu's got a bag. You say, don't touch the bag. I'll be there right now. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So Jessica is there with Katherine Magbanua and Sigfredo Garcia in the house by herself with the package.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Okay. Now you're
Neverly Darling says, what is she trying to prove over here? Honest question. Yeah, Neverly. That's what we've all been trying to work out for an hour and a half. What is this? I mean, I thought hand grenade was bad. He probably did a better job. This is terrible. This has been terrible. I mean, we've got to get back to Christopher DeCoste so some defendant can have a chance, because this is just awful. So you wrote down your name on the rental agreement. And did you write your name in uppercase or lowercase? Every question is like, so what?
testimony is that Katherine Magbanua called you looking for Tutu, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we rely on your phone records for accuracy?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Your phone records would be more accurate than your memory, right?
Yeah.
So the phone records should show Katherine calling you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Not you calling Katherine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, where were you when you say Katherine called you?
In the barbershop.
Hildy, leg of an owl. Rabbit said earlier that Luis Rivera doesn't write emails from prison. He just writes messages on a piece of paper and ties it to the leg of a pigeon. And I said, the leg of an owl.
Who called
Oh,
first?
no. I was in my house. I was leaving my house.
So you were at home, but
Yeah, I was in my house.
which home?
Jessica.
Jessica's home when Katie called you. Right?
Yeah.
When Katherine Magbanua called you. And in January of 2018, you testified that she said, I got that money for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that Katherine called you and said that to you.
Yeah, on January 8th, 2019, you said that Katherine called you and said, I got that money for you. But today you're saying that she said, I got the money for you. Which is it, Mr. Rivera?
She said, who's gonna come get the money? Those
So
are my
that's
exact
different
words.
from what you said in January. So what is it that she said on the phone?
Who's gonna come get the money?
Page 1.
Oh, Hildy. So when you tie a message to the leg of a pigeon, it's for the message to be carried, what do they call it? Messenger birds. You send the bird and it flies instead of putting the letter in the mail. But because owls are such a prominent story, part of this story, there's owls everywhere in the story. The joke was, instead of a pigeon, it would be an owl. It's there's nothing to get. Maybe it's just not a good joke.
105 on January 31st of 2018. And the line number would be.
What page is it?
105. Line 16 to 18. So Katie called you. Yeah, she was like, man, I got that. I got that money. I got that money for you.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
what you said then.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, your testimony was you called King Anthony to go find Tuto.
Yes, ma'am.
And Tuto is Sigfredo Garcia.
Yes, ma'am.
Ian, the only thing pigeons carry is influenza.
Did you try to find him?
No,
You didn't call him?
I knew where he was at.
Where was he?
Shrimp house.
Okay. And I don't know if I asked you this. Where is Shrimp's house again?
Miami Beach.
Miami Beach. Okay. How far is Miami Beach from Biscayne?
I'd love it if if when he was asked that question, how far is Miami Beach from Biscayne? If he went, well, depending on Miami traffic, like Wendy always does. Oh, that grinds my gears, man.
Like 10 minutes.
10 minutes? How is it from Jessica's house all the way to Normandy?
It's 10 minutes. There's only one bridge.
There's one bridge. Okay, so your
Okay.
testimony today is that takes 10 minutes.
It takes like 10, 15 minutes or more. That's it.
Okay. How much time does it?
Stop and point this plus, the jury's probably about 1
Your Honor, we can take a break now.
I mean to interrupt.
No, it's totally fine because there's still a little bit more. It's not a little, so I
All right.
thought we can take the break now.
Leave your notes where you are, have a lunch break, see you at 1 o'clock, all right? Let's stay in session.
Hey guys, I thought Tara was going to be wrapping it up today, but sadly no. I think I'm going to have to put a poll vote out to the subscribers to see if we want to continue with Tara Kawass's cross-examination or just skip it. Because I'm sure the jury would skip it if they had the chance. Man, that was dry. Look at Mr. Hand Grenade in the back there. I'd never thought that I'd miss him. But I do today. That was long, man. That felt like 4 hours. It's been 1. Oh man. Yeah, we're gonna have to skip it, aren't we? Maybe we'll just jump right back to Georgia Kappelman's redirect. But we're coming to a close of Luis Rivera's testimonies on the 2019 trial. When we're done with that, I think we're going to take a break from the Markel case and go and have a look at Michael Dunn. I need to get back to some interrogation/interview footage, man. I think there's so much more for us to discuss, unpack, make fun of, point out, which is really what this channel is all about. we're also thinking about doing a full revisit of the 6-part Wendy Adelson interview series, because sometimes I just listen to it for fun. And then I think about so much stuff that we didn't say. There's a load more stuff to say. So it's a long haul. It's a 6-part, multiple hour deal. Need to think whether I want to commit to that. And I'm wondering if we skip around some other cases. You know, Sarah Boone got postponed again. Unbelievable. I'm almost at the point of just let her out. Just let her go and make her, like, you know, I don't know. Her punishment will be to be on Nancy Grace every day forever, you know, and just speak about her case. I think that'd punish all of us more than her. But you never know. Let's check these comments. Oh, Chandler Halderson. Yeah. Maybe we're... Thank you, Ryan. That's definitely been on the board for a while. Yeah, maybe we'll skip over to Chandler Halderson. We want to have a look at his interrogation and his girlfriend, Katherine Magbanua. We want to have a look at her interview as well, because they're pretty long, but we could cut it down into some segments and have a walk through those. Yeah. Let's just let this play out for the next few minutes and see if these lawyers say anything good here.
Everybody be seated. Ms. Kawass, you wanted to be heard on the incident with 4 other guys, and why do you think that's relevant?
Because, Your Honor, on 3 separate occasions, he did not mention that at all to the detective. So it's coming in for impeachment purposes, that he essentially in January of 2018 was the first time he had ever mentioned that 4 potential witnesses had come into his hotel room and that he held them up at gunpoint.
Yeah. That was the first time he ever mentioned that 4 potential witnesses ordered Mountain Dew when they were in the hotel. And now he's saying it was ginger ale. I mean, which is it, Judge? First, he said on 410, on 10-4, he said Mountain Dew. And you know, the tropical Mountain Dew with the mango flavor. But now it's Arnold Palmer. They had 4 Arnold Palmers and 1 Mountain Dew. I mean, we have to have a mistrial.
And that he failed to tell this to the detective. It goes to his bias and motive to lie, because this would be another crime that he committed that he didn't tell the state about, and that they're kind of just ignoring. So I think it's completely relevant, not only for impeachment purposes, Judge, because he failed to mention this to anybody until the January statement that he gave.
Ms.
Judge, my position would be that this is irrelevant, prior bad act evidence. You can't impeach something that's not material to the case. The fact that he was never asked and never volunteered this information cannot be impeached by the absence of a statement.
And Your Honor, it's an impeachment by omission. And I do believe that this would qualify as a material fact that he failed.
How is it material?
The fact that Mr. Garcia couldn't remember or didn't think it was important to tell the detectives or anybody else that he had 4 individuals come into his room who would have been potential witnesses to what was going on, and that he pulled a firearm on all of them and told them to strip. And actually,
I find this, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry, Judge.
No, you don't.
And the other thing too is his testimony said, which I think would be a little bit relevant as well, that he claims that he recognized one of these individuals.
You see, when this judge asks with a question mark at the end, "You done?" what he really means is, "You're done. Ending now."
individuals because they had a rival tattoo on them. And that's why he was so concerned, because it was a rival gang, and which is why he pulled the guns out on them.
Were you wanting to be heard on that issue, Mr. Singer?
Yes, Judge, briefly, I believe it's material, in addition to the arguments that Ms. Kawass has made, and the fact that they are now, in addition to the one witness that has been listed by the government, Shadrick Doubles, that there's 3 other potential witnesses that can confirm, or at least that we could have inquired or done any due diligence on with regards to whether or not my client was with Mr. Rivera on the June trip, which is obviously what we're disputing.
I must sustain the state's objection. I find it's not relevant to the extent there's impeachment about it. It's a collateral issue, so it's not subject to impeach. You wanted to be heard further on that, why sale of cocaine by Mr. Garcia is relevant.
To my defense, Your Honor?
Right.
Yes, because essentially the state's theory is that all of this cash that Ms. Magbanua was receiving must have come from her participation in this conspiracy. The fact that Mr. Garcia was receiving cash for his drug selling activities goes to our theory of defense, that he was potentially giving her cash that he got from that, and that's where he would have gotten the cash because he wasn't working, in order to supply child support for his children.
You want to be heard on that, Mr. Singer?
1 second.
So I thought it was your objection that I sustained. So you now withdrawing that objection?
No, I'm reiterating my previous objection.
All right, but you are objecting. Okay. State have a position.
Well, Judge, if this witness has knowledge of Mr. Garcia giving Ms. Magbanua cash, I think that could be relevant. I don't think where he got it from.
Okay, pretty dry end tonight, guys. We're going to wrap it up for the evening. Probably be back tomorrow or the next day. You know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, if you haven't seen our previous videos on Luis Rivera's testimonies, we got a little playlist on the channel page. You know, a lot of love coming for Wendy's testimony commentary videos, another playlist on the channel page, and of course, the Wendy Adelson interview footage. 6-parter on the channel page. So you've all got something to do for the next 24 hours, okay? Just play those videos. Play those videos. All right, thanks to everybody in the chat from 3, or is it 4 continents. We got Norway in the house. Down under, Ian with his kangaroo, crocodile, barbecue, ostrich. We got North Carolina, Texas, Mississippi, coming at you live. All right. Out for the evening, guys. You're all great. Thank you. Bye.